Your life is shaped by the direction of your dominant thought. This is not just a nice saying, it is a spiritual and universal law. Every day, without realizing it, you are steering the course of your destiny through the thoughts you entertain the most. The mind is like a ship's rudder, small compared to the whole vessel, but powerful enough to determine where you end up. If your dominant thought is filled with faith, vision, and expectancy, you naturally begin to move toward experiences that match those vibrations. But if your dominant thought is fear, lack, or defeat, you are unconsciously navigating toward situations that will confirm those beliefs. The truth is, the direction of your life is not an accident. It is the harvest of what has been planted and nurtured in your mind over time. You can have all the talent, all the opportunities, all the connections, but if your dominant thought is, "I can't," you will sabotage every chance before it blooms. On the other hand, if your dominant thought is, "It is possible for me," you will notice doors where others see walls, and you will find pathways that others overlook. This is because your mind doesn't just passively record life, it actively shapes it. What you dwell on becomes your point of focus, and what you focus on expands. Changing the direction of your life begins by identifying the thoughts that are currently leading you. What is the idea that you revisit most often in a day? Is it filled with hope or fear? Do you imagine the best or prepare for the worst? Your mind, like fertile soil, will grow anything you plant. It does not question whether a seed is helpful or harmful. It simply nourishes it until it bears fruit. So if you continually feed thoughts of scarcity, unworthiness, or limitation, that is exactly what will grow. But when you begin to feed thoughts of abundance, possibility, and divine alignment, the same soil produces a completely different harvest. This means that you have the power, right now, to begin planting thoughts that will lead to the life you desire, no matter where you are starting from. It's important to understand that one isolated positive thought is not enough to shift the trajectory of your life. It is the repetition, the dwelling, the meditating on a thought until it becomes your dominant mindset that changes your direction. This is why affirmations and visualization are so powerful. They are tools for making a thought so familiar, so ingrained in your consciousness, that it becomes the automatic way you think. And once it is automatic, your actions, your choices, and even the way you carry yourself will align with that thought without you forcing it. You will begin to move in its direction as naturally as water flows downhill. When you change your dominant thought, you don't have to struggle to change every detail of your life at once. The new thought becomes the guiding compass that influences every decision you make. For example, if your dominant thought is, "I am always provided for," you will approach challenges with calm confidence, seeing them as temporary instead of permanent. You will look for solutions rather than resigning to defeat. If your dominant thought is, "I am worthy of love and respect," you will naturally make choices that honor your value, and you will attract relationships that reflect it. If your dominant thought is, "I am in divine timing," you will stop rushing and comparing, and you will trust that everything is unfolding as it should. The beauty of this truth is that you can begin right now. You do not have to wait for conditions to be perfect. The moment you decide to shift your dominant thought is the moment the direction of your life starts to change. Even if nothing outside you changes immediately, the shift has already begun within you, and that is where true transformation starts. Over time, your external circumstances will catch up to the new reality you have been nurturing in your mind. You will see opportunities, meet people, and encounter resources that align with your new direction. And when they come, you will be ready, because your dominant thought has prepared you to receive them. So guard your mind with vigilance. Do not allow destructive thoughts to become your constant companions. Replace them with words and images that inspire you. Speak them aloud, write them down, and revisit them often until they feel more real than your fears. Your dominant thought is the seed of your destiny. Choose it wisely, water it daily, and it will lead you to the life you were meant to live. The one thought that changes your life forever is not just an idea you entertain for a moment and then forget. It is the thought you decide to believe, the one you allow to sink into the deepest part of your mind and heart until it becomes part of who you are. It is the kind of thought that redefines your identity, reshapes your perception of the world, and transforms the way you respond to every challenge. When this thought takes root, it becomes a lens through which you view all of life. The same circumstances that once discouraged you now inspire you to grow. The setbacks that used to make you quit now fuel your determination. The people and opportunities that once seemed out of reach now feel aligned with your path. It is not that the world outside has suddenly changed. It is that you have changed, and because of that, everything looks and feels different. This thought acts as an anchor when life's storms come, keeping you steady and unshaken. It does not mean you will never face hardship or disappointment, but it changes your relationship with them. Instead of seeing problems as proof that you are doomed to fail, you see them as temporary tests meant to strengthen your character. You no longer waste energy asking, "Why me?" Instead, you begin asking, "What can I learn from this? How can this be turned for my good?" This shift in perspective alone can save you years of frustration and regret, because it allows you to move forward rather than stay stuck in the past. When you carry this thought with conviction, it also shapes the way you interact with others. You approach relationships with confidence instead of insecurity, knowing that your worth is not dependent on another person's approval. You stop chasing validation because you already carry it within you. This naturally attracts healthier connections because you are no longer operating from a place of neediness or fear. Your new inner belief draws to you the people who resonate with it, and it quietly repels those who would drain your energy or keep you small. Without forcing anything, your social circle begins to reflect the new truth you have embraced. The one thought that changes your life forever also influences your decisions in powerful ways. You start making choices that align with where you want to go, not where you have been. You stop settling for less than what feels right for your spirit. You find it easier to say no to distractions and yes to opportunities that stretch you toward your potential. Your energy is no longer scattered in 100 directions, because this thought acts like a compass, always pointing you toward your true north. Even when fear whispers that you should play it safe, this thought reminds you that you were made for more, and you take the step forward anyway. It is important to realize that such a thought often feels uncomfortable at first. It may clash with your old habits and beliefs, and you may even doubt it in the beginning. But that is simply because you are stretching into a new version of yourself. The key is to hold on to it long enough for it to become familiar, to repeat it often enough that it begins to feel natural. Over time, it stops feeling like something you are trying to convince yourself of, and it becomes the truth you live from without effort. That is when the magic happens, when it is no longer a thought you visit, but a reality you inhabit. Once you begin living from this new mindset, you notice that you are less reactive to life. You stop being tossed around by every unexpected change or disappointing outcome. Instead, you carry a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you will find a way forward. This is not blind optimism. It is trust in the truth you have chosen to believe. You start expecting good to come, and because of that expectation, you recognize opportunities that you would have overlooked before. The world begins to respond to your belief in ways that feel almost miraculous. The most beautiful part is that this thought, once planted and nurtured, becomes self-reinforcing. Every time you act on it and see results, your belief in it grows stronger. Every small victory is proof that you were right to choose it, and this creates a momentum that carries you further than you imagined possible. In time, you will look back and realize that this single decision, to believe and live from one empowering thought, was the turning point that shaped the rest of your life. It is not the number of thoughts you think in a day that matters most, but the one thought you choose to hold above all others. That is the thought that will change everything. The one thought that changes your life forever often begins with a quiet whisper in your heart, a subtle awareness that there is more for you than what you have been experiencing. At first, it might feel too simple to be significant, yet its simplicity is exactly what gives it power. This thought doesn't require complicated strategies or years of study before it can start working in your life. All it needs is your acceptance and your willingness to let it guide you. The moment you embrace it, you open the door to a new way of living. Suddenly, the heaviness you've carried for years begins to lift because you no longer feel bound to the same old patterns of fear, doubt, and limitation. This thought is like a key that unlocks a gate, and once that gate is open, you see possibilities where you used to see only problems. When you let this thought become your foundation, every step you take is infused with a sense of purpose. You no longer drift through life waiting for things to change on their own. You become the initiator of change. That is because this one thought reshapes your self-image. You stop defining yourself by your mistakes, your past, or the negative opinions of others. Instead, you see yourself as someone capable, worthy, and divinely guided. And when you see yourself differently, you act differently. Your posture shifts, your tone changes, and the way you carry yourself tells the world that you are no longer operating from a place of defeat. This thought also has a way of silencing the noise of fear that tries to control your decisions. Before, you might have hesitated to step out into new territory because you were afraid of failing. You might have told yourself, "I'm not ready," or "It's too late for me." But once this thought is planted deep inside, it becomes louder than the voice of fear. It reminds you that there is no perfect moment to start, and that progress is made by moving forward in faith, not by waiting for all the lights to turn green. It assures you that even if you make mistakes along the way, you are still on the right path, because every experience will shape you into the person you are meant to become. The transformation that comes from this thought is not just internal. It begins to show up in your outer world as well. Opportunities that once seemed rare begin to appear more frequently. People who can help you in your journey cross your path, and circumstances start aligning in unexpected ways. This is not mere coincidence. It is the natural effect of shifting your energy and focus. When your inner belief changes, your actions follow, and your actions create new results. You start saying yes to things you would have avoided before, and you walk away from things that no longer serve you. This realignment opens doors you didn't even know existed. One of the most profound changes this thought brings is the ability to remain steady in uncertain times. Life will still have challenges, storms will still come, but instead of being shaken by every gust of wind, you find yourself anchored in a deep sense of peace. You realize that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond. And because your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions, that single thought you've chosen to believe becomes the source of your stability. You respond to challenges with calmness instead of panic, and with faith instead of fear. This thought also fosters gratitude in ways you might not expect. When you carry it with you, you start noticing blessings in the small moments. A kind word from a stranger, a door that opens just in time, a sunrise that reminds you of the beauty still present in the world. Gratitude begins to replace complaint, and with gratitude comes joy. Joy doesn't mean you will never have difficulties, but it means you carry light with you even in the dark. And that light makes the path ahead clearer and more inviting. As time passes, this one thought becomes the thread that weaves your life together. It shapes your goals, influences your relationships, and determines the way you spend your days. And one day, you look back and realize that the life you are living now is the direct result of that moment when you chose to believe differently. You see that everything, the successes, the lessons, the growth, flowed from that single decision to anchor yourself in a truth that empowered you rather than diminished you. This is the power of one thought. It doesn't just change how you think. It changes who you are and the life you create. The one thought that changes your life forever is not just an idea you keep in your mind. It is a seed that, when nurtured, grows into a new way of living. It begins to influence the smallest choices you make each day, and over time, those choices add up to a transformation you could not have imagined before. At first, it might feel like nothing much has shifted, but slowly, you start to notice that you are responding differently to situations that once upset you. You no longer feel the same pull toward negativity or hopelessness, because this thought keeps redirecting your attention toward possibilities and solutions. It becomes like an inner compass, always pointing you toward a higher path, even when life tries to push you in the opposite direction. When you hold on to this thought, you start to realize how much of life is shaped by your focus. You see that when your mind is fixed on fear, scarcity, or lack, you tend to attract more of it into your life. But when you fix your mind on abundance, hope, and divine guidance, the world opens up to you in new ways. This is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing the reality you will give the most energy to. The thought you have chosen becomes the lens through which you see the world, and through that lens, opportunities become visible where before there were only obstacles. This shift in perception also changes the way you speak. Words that used to carry doubt or limitation begin to fade from your vocabulary, replaced by words that affirm your faith, your vision, and your strength. You become aware that your words are powerful. They are not just sounds in the air, but seeds that take root in your mind and the minds of those around you. The one thought you carry begins to shape the way you talk about your future, and in doing so, it sets in motion the very outcomes you desire. Even in moments when you feel unsure, the thought reminds you to speak in alignment with your goals rather than your fears. Over time, this one thought also transforms your sense of self-worth. You stop seeking constant approval from others because you understand that your value does not depend on their validation. This frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to please everyone and allows you to focus on what truly matters. You begin to trust yourself more deeply, knowing that you are being guided in every step. This trust fuels confidence, and confidence fuels action. And when you act with confidence, the world responds differently to you. People are drawn to your clarity and your conviction, and many will be inspired to change their own thinking just by being around you. The beauty of this transformation is that it does not just benefit you. It has a ripple effect on everyone you encounter. Your family notices your patience and positivity. Your friends feel encouraged by your faith, and even strangers sense the calm and hope that you carry. This one thought becomes not only a personal anchor, but also a light you share with others, often without even realizing it. Your life becomes an example of what is possible when a person refuses to be ruled by fear or limitation, and instead chooses to be guided by a truth that empowers them. Even when difficulties arise, and they will, you find yourself facing them with a steadiness you never had before. You understand that challenges are not signs of failure, but opportunities for growth. The one thought you carry keeps you from falling into despair, because it reminds you that every situation, no matter how dark, contains the potential for transformation. You begin to look at problems not as walls, but as doors waiting to be opened. And this perspective gives you the courage to keep moving forward when others might give up. Ultimately, the longer you hold this thought, the more it becomes a part of who you are. It is no longer something you have to remind yourself of constantly. It simply becomes your natural way of thinking. And as your thoughts have changed, so has your life. You wake up with a sense of expectation rather than dread, and you go to bed with gratitude rather than regret. You see clearly that the outer shifts you now enjoy, better relationships, new opportunities, deeper peace, are the direct result of an inner shift that began with one decision to hold on to a thought that uplifts, empowers, and directs you toward the life you were meant to live. When you begin to understand the power of a single thought to shape your reality, you realize that your mind is not just a passive observer of life. It is the creative force behind the life you live. The one thought that changes everything is like planting a seed in fertile soil. At first, it may be invisible to others and even to yourself, but it is growing beneath the surface. Every time you dwell on it, speak it, and act in harmony with it, You water that seed and give it light. Over time, it begins to sprout, and eventually, it bears fruit in the form of new habits, new circumstances, and new opportunities. The people around you might call it luck or coincidence, but you know it is the inevitable harvest of the thought you have chosen to nurture. This one thought also begins to dismantle the old, limiting beliefs that have kept you stuck for years. Those beliefs may have been planted long ago, by family culture or painful experiences, but they no longer have the same power over you. Every time the old voices whisper, telling you that you are not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough, the one thought rises up and drowns them out. It becomes your shield against self, doubt, and fear. Where you used to react with hesitation, you now respond with faith. Where you once saw obstacles as final, you now see them as temporary. And the more you prove to yourself that you can push through them, the more those old limitations lose their grip. This shift in mindset naturally leads to a change in your actions. You find yourself taking steps you would have avoided before because you no longer let fear dictate your decisions. The one thought acts like a guide, reminding you of your purpose and your potential. Even when you feel uncertain about the outcome, you step forward with trust that the path will become clear as you walk it. And somehow, it always does. Doors open, resources appear, and the right people come into your life at just the right time. This is not magic, it is alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions are in harmony, life has a way of meeting you with opportunities that match your inner state. One of the most profound changes you notice is in the way you handle challenges. Problems that once would have overwhelmed you now seem manageable. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But instead, "What can I learn from this?" That simple change in perspective transforms difficulties into stepping stones. The one thought keeps you anchored when life feels unpredictable. Instead of being tossed around by fear or frustration, you maintain a steady focus on the bigger picture. You begin to trust that even setbacks are part of the process, leading you to something greater than you could have imagined. This inner steadiness also affects the way you interact with others. You start to bring encouragement and hope into your conversations without even trying. Your belief in the power of this one thought spills over into the lives of those around you. Friends and family notice your calm in stressful situations, your optimism when things look bleak, and your ability to see solutions where others see only problems. In a world that is often quick to give in to negativity, your presence becomes a source of light. People feel strengthened just by being near you because they can sense the conviction you carry. As you live with this thought day by day, you also develop a deeper gratitude for life itself. You stop taking small blessings for granted because you understand that everything you focus on grows. Gratitude magnifies the power of your thought, turning even ordinary moments into evidence that you are on the right path. This sense of appreciation fuels more positivity, and that positivity keeps you moving forward. It becomes a cycle of growth and fulfillment that is hard to break. And why would you want to break it? In the end, this one thought is not just an idea. It is a decision, a commitment to live differently. It shapes your identity, it informs your choices, and it sets the tone for the life you are creating. It is a daily reminder that you are not powerless, that your future is not fixed, and that transformation begins in the mind before it ever shows up in the world. When you choose to hold on to it, protect it, and act in alignment with it, you discover that change is not something you wait for. It is something you create from within. And once that truth takes root, there is no going back to the life you had before, because you have already stepped into something greater. The moment you realize that your inner world determines your outer world, you stop being at the mercy of circumstances and begin to take ownership of your life. The one thought that changes everything works like a lens. Through it, you see possibilities where before you saw only problems. It shifts your perception from limitation to abundance, from fear to faith. Instead of waking up each day dreading what might go wrong, you begin to look forward to what could go right. This shift is subtle at first, but it is powerful because your emotions, decisions, and actions all begin to align with hope instead of doubt. Life responds to this change in the same way a seed responds to sunlight. It grows toward the source of energy and nourishment you have chosen to give it. With this awareness comes a new sense of responsibility. You start to guard your mind the way a gardener protects a prized plant. You become more selective about the thoughts you allow to take root. When a negative idea tries to creep in, you immediately recognize it for what it is, a weed that will choke the life out of your vision if left unattended. So you replace it with the one thought you have chosen to live by reinforcing it until it becomes second nature. This practice does not mean you will never face doubt again, but it does mean you no longer give doubt the final say. The one thought also changes the way you approach your goals. Instead of being intimidated by the distance between where you are and where you want to be, you focus on the next step, trusting that each step will lead you closer to your destination. This keeps you from being paralyzed by the size of your dreams. You begin to understand that progress is not always about giant leaps. It is often about small, consistent actions taken in faith. Over time, these actions build momentum, and that momentum creates breakthroughs that once felt impossible. There is also a shift in your emotional resilience. You stop being easily thrown off course by setbacks or criticism. Instead of seeing them as signs that you are failing, you view them as part of the process of growth. The one thought acts as an anchor in the storm, reminding you that your worth is not determined by the approval of others or the smoothness of your journey. You start to measure success not by the absence of challenges, but by your ability to keep moving forward despite them. This change in perspective brings a deep sense of inner peace, because you no longer tie your happiness to circumstances you cannot control. As your confidence grows, you naturally begin to inspire others. Without even trying, you become an example of what is possible when someone chooses to believe in a higher vision for their life. Your words carry more weight because they come from lived experience, not just theory. People are drawn to the authenticity of your journey, and your encouragement becomes a spark that ignites belief in them as well. This is how the influence of the one thought spreads. It begins in your own mind, but soon touches the lives of those around you. You also start to recognize patterns of blessing and opportunity that were invisible before. Because your focus has shifted, you notice the small openings that lead to greater possibilities. You see connections between events that once seemed random. You realize that life has been placing stepping stones in your path all along, but it was your perspective that determined whether you saw them or missed them. Now, with your mind aligned to this empowering truth, you see them clearly and act on them quickly, turning moments into milestones. Ultimately, this one thought becomes more than a mental affirmation. It becomes the foundation of your identity. It is not just something you say, it is something you live. Every choice, every conversation, and every action reflects the truth you have chosen to believe. It becomes the invisible compass guiding your life, keeping you aligned with purpose and filled with expectation. And the more you live by it, the more it shapes your destiny, until the gap between who you were and who you are becoming is so wide that you can hardly remember the person you used to be. That is the real power of a thought. It can rewrite the story of your life from the inside out. When you embrace the one thought that changes your life forever, you begin to see that it is not just a fleeting idea, but a continual invitation to live in harmony with your highest good. It becomes a daily practice, something you return to in every decision, in every moment of uncertainty, and in every opportunity that comes your way. You realize that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. The energy you carry, the faith you hold, and the vision you nurture are constantly shaping the experiences you attract. This awareness removes the feeling of helplessness and replaces it with a sense of creative power. You no longer feel like a passenger in your own life. You step into the role of the driver, steering with intention and confidence. As this truth sinks deeper, your relationship with challenges begins to change. What once felt like roadblocks now appear as stepping stones. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin to ask, what is this here to teach me? That single shift in questioning transforms struggle into growth and frustration into wisdom. You see that every difficulty carries within it the seed of a solution or a new direction. You stop resenting the process and start trusting it, knowing that every moment, whether smooth or rough, is preparing you for the life you are building. This allows you to live with more patience and grace, both toward yourself and toward others. The one thought also awakens a sense of gratitude that runs deeper than surface thankfulness. You start noticing the beauty in things you once took for granted. The sunrise through your window, a kind word from a stranger, the quiet moments of peace between busy hours. Gratitude becomes more than a reaction to good things. It becomes a state of being. Even in the middle of challenges, you find reasons to be thankful, because you understand that thankfulness keeps your heart open and your mind focused on abundance instead of lack. This shift in focus not only improves your mood, but also opens the door for more blessings to flow into your life. Your interactions with people also begin to transform. When you live from the space of this one empowering thought, you radiate a calm assurance that others can feel. You listen more intently, speak more intentionally, and encourage more sincerely. Relationships become richer because you are no longer engaging from a place of fear or defensiveness. You begin to see the best in people, and in doing so, you often help them see the best in themselves. This makes your presence uplifting, and people naturally gravitate toward that kind of energy. Over time, the one thought shapes your vision for the future. Dreams that once seemed unrealistic now feel within reach, because you no longer approach them from doubt, but from possibility. You understand that the path to your goals may not be straight, but every step you take in faith brings you closer. This understanding removes the pressure to have it all figured out at once. Instead, you find joy in the unfolding, trusting that each season of your life has its own unique purpose. You begin to dream bigger not because you are dissatisfied with what you have, but because you know there is always more potential waiting to be explored. Another change you notice is that you become less reactive to negativity, whether it comes in the form of other people's opinions, unexpected obstacles, or even your own old patterns of thought. You meet it with a steady confidence. The one thought serves as a filter, allowing you to recognize what aligns with your vision and release what doesn't. This keeps you from being pulled in directions that don't serve your purpose. You waste less time on distractions and invest more energy in things that truly matter. Ultimately, the one thought becomes your way of life. It is no longer something you remind yourself of occasionally. It is the silent rhythm behind every choice you make and every action you take. It gives you clarity in moments of confusion, strength in times of weakness, and hope when the path ahead seems unclear. The more you live by it, the more you see it reflected back to you in the form of opportunities, relationships, and blessings that match the energy you carry. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is that this one thought not only transforms your life, it has the power to inspire and transform the lives of everyone you touch, creating a ripple effect of change that reaches far beyond anything you could imagine.